Meeting a celebrity is supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime moment, a quick selfie, an autograph, maybe even a brief conversation. But what if, instead of a smooth, charming encounter, you walked into a supermarket to find a celebrity in the middle of an all-out argument with strangers? No, this wasn't a scene from a movie, it was real life, and involved none other than Adam Brody, who found himself caught in a supermarket showdown that no one saw coming. The moment was so shocking that it left people wondering, how did it all escalate so quickly? It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon. The kind of day that felt like the calm before the storm, even though there was no storm in sight. The sun was gently setting, casting a soft orange glow through the large windows of the supermarket. Customers meandered down the aisles, pushing their carts with practiced indifference. The mundane rhythm of daily life hummed through the store, the beep of the checkout scanners, the shuffle of feet on linoleum, the low murmur of conversations about dinner plans and weekend plans. No one was expecting anything out of the ordinary until he walked in. Adam Brody, the guy we all knew as Seth Cohen from the OC, was standing in the cereal aisle. Just like everyone else, he was picking out boxes of cereal, scanning the shelves, and looking for the best deals. His cap was pulled low over his face, trying to stay under the radar, but it was hard to ignore the fact that he was a well-known actor. Even though he wasn't one of Hollywood's biggest stars, his familiar face was enough to make anyone do a double take. For a while, it seemed like any other celebrity sighting. People noticed him, whispered about him, and some even snapped quick photos when they thought no one was looking. Adam didn't seem bothered. He was moving slowly, taking his time with his choices. But then, something happened that no one could have predicted. A woman, probably in her late 40s, pushing a cart overloaded with snacks and cleaning supplies, accidentally bumped into Adam's cart. It was a small, harmless bump, barely even worth mentioning. But it was enough to get her attention. Adam quickly said, "Oh, sorry about that," in a friendly, apologetic tone, as he moved his cart out of the way. He expected the interaction to end there, just like any other minor grocery store mishap. But it didn't. The woman stopped and turned, her expression hardening. She was already irritated. Maybe the stress of the day had gotten to her, or maybe there was something about the situation that just set her off. She looked up at Adam, her eyes narrowing. "You're in my way," she said sharply, her voice filled with frustration. Adam blinked in surprise. "I said sorry," he repeated, trying to keep things polite. But the woman wasn't having it. "I don't care if you said sorry," she snapped, raising her voice. "You think just because you're some TV star, you can do whatever you want." Adam was taken aback. This wasn't the response he was expecting. He didn't know how to handle it, but he kept his cool. "I'm just trying to get through the aisle. No harm done," he said, trying to defuse the situation. However, the woman was getting angrier by the second. "You think you're better than everyone else because you're famous, huh? You think you can just act like nothing matters," she said, her voice now loud enough to turn the heads of the shoppers nearby. A few people paused and started to look over, sensing something wasn't right. Adam could feel the eyes on him, but he didn't want to escalate things. "Ma'am, I'm not trying to cause a scene." "I didn't mean any disrespect," he said, his tone calm, even though he was starting to feel uncomfortable. But the woman wasn't listening. "Of course you didn't. You don't even care about anyone else," she shot back, now practically shouting. At this point, the manager, a middle-aged man who had been watching the situation unfold from across the aisle, rushed over. "Is everything okay here?" he asked, trying to intervene. But the woman, now fully worked up, wasn't going to let it slide. "This man bumped into me and thinks he can get away with it because he's on TV," she yelled, turning to face the manager, who had now arrived at the scene. The store manager, clearly flustered, looked at Adam, then at the woman. "Ma'am, we need to calm down," he said, trying to keep things under control. But the woman wasn't having it. "I'm not calming down. He needs to know he can't treat people like they're invisible just because he's a celebrity," she shouted. Adam was starting to lose patience. "I'm just trying to buy my cereal like everyone else," he said firmly, though his voice was strained. I'm sorry, but I don't appreciate being yelled at like this for something so minor. The argument continued to spiral, and now more customers were gathering around. Some were watching with amusement, others with curiosity, while a few seemed genuinely uncomfortable. Phones were being pulled out, some recording the encounter, others just documenting the oddity of the moment. One person, an older man who had been standing near the produce section, walked over to Adam. "Don't let her get to you, kid," he said quietly, as if trying to offer some reassurance. But Adam, his patience stretched thin, turned to him. "I'm not trying to cause a scene, but she's just being unreasonable. You celebrities always think you can get away with anything," the woman snapped, turning her attention back to Adam. "But I'm not going to let you treat me like that." At this point, Adam's cool, collected demeanor started to crack. "I didn't treat you like anything." He raised his voice for the first time. "I said sorry. I didn't bump into you on purpose. I don't know why this is happening, but I'm done." He started to turn away, but the woman wasn't finished. "You're just another spoiled Hollywood brat." As Adam walked toward the checkout, the woman's words still ringing in his ears, the crowd began to murmur among themselves. Was this just a weird encounter, or was there something deeper to it? Maybe Adam wasn't as perfect as his public persona suggested. Maybe he had a temper, just like anyone else. Maybe fame had gotten to his head. Or maybe he was just a normal guy who got caught up in a stressful situation. Adam reached the self-checkout lanes, feeling the weight of everyone's eyes on him. The store had gone silent, with only the soft hum of the scanners filling the air. He could hear whispers behind him, a mix of sympathy and judgment. The woman's voice still echoed in his mind, "Hollywood brat." It stung, but Adam knew better than to let it show. As he scanned his items, a voice from the crowd interrupted his thoughts. It was a young man, probably in his mid-20s, standing nearby. "Hey, Adam," the guy called out, his tone friendly. Adam looked over, relieved to see a familiar face. "Hey, man, you all right?" the young man asked. Adam nodded, his eyes scanning the screen as he bagged his groceries. "Yeah, just one of those days," he muttered, forcing a smile. The guy looked at him sympathetically. "I saw what happened back there. That was messed up. You didn't deserve that." Sight. "I don't know what her problem was. I said sorry. I'm just trying to buy some food." The young man shrugged. "People can be rude sometimes. It's the price you pay for being in the public eye." Adam didn't respond, his thoughts drifting back to the argument. He could still feel the heat of the woman's anger, the way her words cut through him. Was it really just about the cart bump? Or was there something deeper behind her outburst? Suddenly, the woman's voice rose again from behind him. "I'm not letting you get away with this," she shouted, her voice now wild with fury. Adam turned around, his patience finally breaking. "What else do you want from me?" he called back, his tone harsh. "I've apologized. You're the one making a scene here, not me." The crowd, sensing the tension, grew even larger. People were recording, some in disbelief, others with a hint of amusement. Adam could feel the pressure mounting. He didn't want to be part of some viral video, but at the same time, he couldn't back down. He wasn't the one in the wrong. Just as the woman was about to retort, another voice cut through the chaos. "That's enough, Carol," a calm, deep voice said. Everyone turned to look at the man who had spoken. It was the store manager from earlier. His face was stern, his posture commanding. "We're not going to turn this into a spectacle." Adam felt a small sense of relief. The manager stepped between them, his hand held out to Adam as if to say, "Let it go." Adam hesitated for a moment, but then sighed, putting his hands in his pockets. "Thanks," he muttered, his shoulders sagging with exhaustion. The manager turned to the woman, his voice low but firm. "Carol, I'm asking you to leave. We don't tolerate behavior like this in our store. You've made your point, but it's over now." The woman, still fuming, glanced around at the growing crowd. She opened her mouth to argue, but then closed it, her face flushed with embarrassment. After a long moment, she scoffed and stormed out of the store, muttering insults under her breath. Adam watched her leave, his heart still pounding from the confrontation. The manager turned back to him, giving him a brief, reassuring nod. "Sorry about that," the manager said. "Some people just don't know when to stop." Adam couldn't help but chuckle dryly. Yeah, that was something else. He gathered his bags ready to leave, but then paused. He looked at the young man who had spoken to him earlier and gave a small, tired smile. "Thanks for backing me up, man." "No problem," the guy said, flashing a grin. "I think everyone here saw who the real crazy one was." As Adam left the store, the sounds of the checkout area faded behind him. He felt both exhausted and relieved. The ordeal was over, but he couldn't shake the feeling that it would stick with him for a while. The public eye, sometimes it felt like a spotlight that could turn into a heat-seeking missile at any moment. As he stepped into his car and started the engine, Adam shook his head. He was just trying to buy cereal. But somehow, it had turned into the most dramatic, surreal moment of his week. Would he ever get to shop in peace again?